Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending today's webcast, Improving Database Performance with Gen 6 Fibre Channel. My name is Judy Utah, and I'm the Marketing Director at QLogic. Before we begin, we wanted to cover a few housekeeping items. At the bottom of your audience console are multiple application widgets that you can use. If you have any questions during the webcast, you can click on the Q&A widget at the bottom and submit your question. We'll try to answer these during the webcast, but if a fuller answer is needed or we run out of time, we'll answer it via email. We do capture all the questions. A copy of today's slide deck and additional materials are available in the resource list widget that looks like a green folder at the bottom of your screen. You can expand your slide area by clicking on the maximize icon on the top right of the slide area, or by dragging the bottom right corner of the slide area. If you have any technical difficulties, please click on the help widget. It has a question mark icon and covers common technical issues. An on-demand version of the webcast will be available about one day after the webcast, and we'll send you a link to it most likely tomorrow. In addition, for those of you attending today's webcast, you're going to receive an Amazon gift card. This will be emailed to you within a day or so. We have a really exciting presentation today with some very notable speakers. Our first presenter is Dennis Martin. He is the founder and president of Demartek, a computer industry analyst organization with its own ISO 17025 accredited test lab. Demartek focuses on lab validation testing and performance testing of storage and related hardware and software products. Dennis is a frequent presenter at conferences and has authored numerous industry articles. QLogic contracted with Demartek to analyze the performance of our new Gen 6 32 gig fiber channel HBAs with SQL Server, and Dennis will be sharing his evaluations during today's webcast. Our second speaker is Nishant Lodha. Nishant serves as Product and Technical Marketing Manager for QLogic's Fibre Channel and Ethernet products. He is responsible for driving go-to-market, branding, and positioning strategy, as well as overseeing key technology partnerships and industry alliances. During today's webcast, Dennis and Nishant will provide an update on the fiber channel industry and specifically on Gen 6 fiber channel. Dennis will be sharing tips and testing results related to running the SQL Server benchmarks with Gen 6 fiber channel. And then Nishant will highlight some additional management productivity capabilities available with QLogic Gen 6 HBAs. We'll summarize and give some takeaways and some resources, and then hopefully we'll have enough time to answer your questions in a Q&A session. So without further ado, Dennis, hi, good morning. Would you mind giving us a quick update on Fibre Channel?
Yes, good morning, everyone. This is Dennis Martin, and let's talk about Fibre Channel. So Fibre Channel is deployed very widely in large data centers, the Fortune 1000 data centers, definitely designed to do enterprise-class performance, definitely designed for the data center. Been around for quite a few years now, high bandwidth. As you can see on the chart here, the speeds have been doubling about every 3 to 5 years, and now we're at 32 gig fiber channel, which was released this year. So this is what the big boys play with, and most of them use this. So let's talk just briefly about what's known as Gen 6 fiber channel. So we have the single link connection, known as 32 gig fiber channel, or 32 GFC, as you see there. Typically, you can use fiber optic cables. OM4 will take you up to 100 meters at 32 gig. Gen 6 also introduced something called the 128 gig parallel, which is 4 lanes of 32. We won't be talking about that today, other than just to let you know that it exists. 32 gig fiber channel, or Gen 6 fiber channel, is backward compatible with 2 previous generations. That's pretty much been the standard for fiber channel all along. So 32 gig is compatible with 16 and 8 gig. A few extra features besides just the speed, and we'll talk more about this later, but we have things like forward error correction, which increases, error correction capabilities, extra diagnostics, lower power consumption than previous generations. So That's what we have for Gen 6 Fibre Channel. So I'd like to ask Nishant if he'd like to tell us the drivers for this new Fibre Channel.
Thank you, Dennis, and thanks everybody for joining today's webcast. Dennis talked about Gen 6 Fibre Channel, its availability, that Fibre Channel has been constantly, at the edge of innovation, bringing about newer speeds, advanced features, and at the same time decreasing the overall power consumption envelope for the technology. But let's look at what are the key drivers that brought this technology and drove the ecosystem to bring Gen 6 Fibre Channel to the market. Right? If you look at, there is a constant pressure on a single physical servers to host more and more virtual machines, and virtual machine density has increased significantly. There was a time a few years ago where people were running 3, 4, 5 VMs per server, and now people are at the cutting edge, and customers that I talk to are running 40, 60 virtual machines on a single server. That puts an enormous amount of load on a physical server, and hence requires that this physical server, although it is hosted by multi-core processors and multi-socket systems, it increases the pressure on the Fibre Channel connectivity coming out of these individual servers hosting 40, 60 virtual machines, and requires a highly efficient and high-performance pipe like Gen 6 Fibre Channel. Not just about virtual machines, but databases, especially Microsoft SQL Server and Oracle RAC databases, have been around for a while, and they continue to host mission-critical applications that require fast access to data. But in the past, when Flash was not that dominant at our customers, at enterprises, MSPs, and in the cloud, but as Flash becomes more and more dominant, there is literally no bottleneck from the storage array side, and hence databases are able to perform at a much higher rate, more transactions, more throughput, much lower latency when users access these mission-critical databases. And once again, you want to make sure that you can leverage the capabilities and investments that you have made in all-flash arrays, which are hosting these mission-critical databases, by choosing Gen 6 Fibre Channel, its low latency, high performance, and high transactions per second performance to drive these databases at the maximum performance that you expect from your infrastructure. But see, at the same time, I talked about all of these innovations that is happening all around us from in terms of virtual machine density, databases, all-flash arrays, and multi-core processors. But we as an industry are under constant pressure to reduce our operational expenses. Data centers are constantly under the spotlight from executive management to reduce the amount of CapEx and OpEx that they spend in maintaining the infrastructure. At the same time, they're also being told your uptime requirements, your SLAs are becoming increasingly strict, and manageability of hyperscale data centers is becoming increasingly complex. And we as drivers of Fibre Channel technology understand all of these, and we have put significant effort from engineering to partnerships to technologies to help customers who deploy Fibre Channel to simplify their operations, manage scale, allow them to reduce their operational expenses and such. And we're going to talk about a lot of these things as we progress through this presentation. But like I said, storage networking continues to be at the center of all of this, which is Gen 6 Fibre Channel, right? Now, let's look at a quick refresher on Fibre Channel as a technology. What are the key building blocks of Fibre Channel as a technology? And if you ask me, right, they are the following building blocks. Availability and security is a key tenet of Fibre Channel. Fibre Channel is known for delivering the maximum availability and security that you expect and you demand from your infrastructure. Performance and scalability is another key aspect that Fibre Channel delivers, but that is not all. Fibre Channel, being around for 15 plus years, has constantly been innovating from speeds to features to partnership to technologies to simplifying operations and deployment. And all of these have brought forward Fibre Channel and continue to make Fibre Channel as a choice of technology when moving storage blocks across the wire. Right, and let's talk about a little bit more detail about availability and security. Many of you guys are perhaps already aware Fibre Channel is an inherently secure and lossless fabric. In no data center environment can you plug into a Fibre Channel switch and by default gain access. By default, it is locked hard and strong, where inherently the fabric is so secure that unless specific configurations are done by the right administrators, people cannot get access into this fabric. It's a dedicated fabric that runs storage traffic. And how many times have you heard Fibre Channel infrastructure getting hacked? I haven't, right? And lossless fabric, Fibre Channel as a protocol is lossless. It is not going to drop frames from you. The technology works on buffer-to-buffer credits where every frame is transported safely, securely, and guaranteedly across the wire. And that has led customers to invest in Fibre Channel. We have shipped 17.5 million QLogic Fibre Channel ports across our top customers right there. This technology is field-hardened and trusted by people looking to build the most available and secure environments around the world. Let's talk about performance and scalability. Like I talked about Fibre Channel being a lossless fabric and inherently secure, but Fibre Channel as a technology is fully offloaded. All the packet processing is done at the QLogic adapter, and we do not onload the host for any of the packet processing related tasks. The technology is zero copy, very similar to how you hear about RDMA and such. Fibre Channel has been zero copy from day one, from the time it was conceived and deployed. And that is some of the reasons why Fibre Channel technology, along with all the things that QLogic put into its Fibre Channel and Gen 6 adapters, makes performance deterministic and scalable. So as you keep adding workload, as you keep adding more and more ports into your Fibre Channel infrastructure, performance just scales. You do not need to be concerned about, as your scale grows, whether my fabric, whether my QLogic Gen 6 Fibre Channel fabric is going to scale or not. Right. We talked about innovation. It was a decade or so. We have been constantly innovating on new and exciting features. Gen 6 Fibre Channel technology that we are talking to you today about has been in development for a few years, and we launched it earlier this year, and it's been extremely popular at multiple customers who have evaluated this technology and have shown us roadmaps on how they want to get to Gen 6 Fibre Channel. They understand its value, that it can deliver much higher port density, performance. At the same time, QLogic also introduced StorFusion technology, which is a technology that allows the QLogic adapter to work intelligently with the fabric, including the Brocade's Fibre Channel fabric, to intelligently talk and work together to simplify deployment and lower total cost of ownership. Looking ahead in the future a little bit, right, we as one of the leaders in Fibre Channel technology are constantly innovating, and we are looking forward to productizing FCNVMe, which is transporting NVMe over Fibre Channel for low latency NVMe remote accesses, as well as we are working on Gen 7, which is the next generation 64 gigabit technology of Fibre Channels. A lot of exciting things. All the tenants, all the features continue to make Fibre Channel as a technology of choice. But let me give you some proof points as to what are we seeing out in the industry, just in terms of metrics, to make you understand and reiterate some of the scale at which Fibre Channel is all around us, which we don't perhaps see. By metrics published by analysts, 30 billion transactions go through Fibre Channel every single day. When you are booking your airline ticket going to Hawaii, or swiping a card or depositing a check, 96% of the world's banks, airlines, retailers, people like FedEx, all of these people are deploying Fibre Channel to run their mission-critical workloads, and the industry as a whole ships 11+ million Fibre Channel ports every single year. It's an amazing amount of scale that you see all around us. Fibre Channel has quietly in the background make sure that billions of transactions can be put through the wire, and all the major institutions that are around us deploy Fibre Channel, 96% of them. Just the sheer scale makes Fibre Channel one of the most trusted and deployed interconnectivity for enterprise storage. Now, we talked about Gen 6 Fibre Channel, right? And some of the key tenets of Gen 6 Fibre Channel is resiliency and performance. And when I say resiliency, it means this technology is so resilient to failure. It has inbuilt forward error correction mechanisms, inbuilt low latency and high performance that delivers the maximum amount of availability and performance for customers who are designing their next generation storage area networks. So it all started with Gen 5 Fibre Channel and an enhanced Gen 5 Fibre Channel technologies from QLogic, which is 16 gigabit Fibre Channel. We took all of that technology and then which delivers 2.6 million IOPS or 2.6 million transactions per second. We enabled the StorFusion technology, which is the intelligent features that the QLogic adapter works with the Brocade fabric to deliver intelligent connectivity options between the various devices within the storage area network, lowering your total cost of ownership. And like I said, we've constantly bettered our technology, and today the QLogic Gen 6 adapter consumes just a few watts, just 3.5 watts of power per port. But it has not just the lower power envelope has not reduced the performance. We deliver millions of IOPS and upwards of 12,000 megabytes per second across Fibre Channel ports in Gen 6 Fibre Channel. Talking about forward error correction. Now, forward error correction is conceptually a very simple thing in which as frames are transmitted across the wire, it is possible that at high speeds like 32 gig Fibre Channel, there could be some bits that may get corrupted just because of the higher speeds and signaling technologies required. So we as a company and as an industry have innovated to implement forward error correction technology, which automatically detects these possible errors and automatically corrects them frame by frame so that performance is not degraded and the fabric continues to deliver the most resilient options that Fibre Channel connectivity can deliver. And that is everything that makes Gen 6 or 32 gig Fibre Channel the technology of choice for next generation data centers. I would like to briefly talk about some of the top use cases that we see for Gen 6 Fibre Channel. And some of things are pretty obvious, but some I'd like to talk in a little bit more detail here. Server virtualization, like I talk about, as more and more VMs get crammed on a single server, and each one of these VMs demands for I/O is constantly increasing, there is a significant use case that we see with our customer base where people running anything from more than 12 to 20 virtual machines per server require Gen 6 Fibre Channel so that they can make sure that each and every virtual machine gets their share of this fat pipe. We also deliver quality of service for individual VMs with Gen 6 Fibre Channel technology so that you can prioritize your traffic as you see fit in your data center and there is no more guesswork. But the other big piece that I want to talk about a little bit more detail, and Dennis will be chiming in a lot about this, are the three big blocks around databases. Databases is an age-old technology, but databases are so dominant. Most of the enterprise applications out there rely on a database, whether it's Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle RAC, or many of the emerging databases that rely on databases to access data, to queries, to processing, and things like that. But if you look at database workloads, there are three big categories that emerge. There is online transaction processing use cases with databases in which small transactions like check processing, order entry, search, and things like that are driven by OLTP kind of workloads with databases. But at the same time, a lot of data analytics happens with a huge amount of data that we are all storing and what our enterprise customers are storing. And this data is mined for trends, analysis, making sure that different segmentations of the data can be done so that business processes can be improved. And this data warehousing is a highly throughput-intensive task. But these are the two big workloads from a customer-facing perspective, which is transactions processing and data mining. But in the background, databases are replicated, backed up, and restored. And we as a company have spoken to Demartek, and we have chartered Demartek and Dennis Martin and some of his performance experts based there in Colorado to go and thoroughly evaluate how Gen 6 Fibre Channel can help improve the performance for these three big blocks of databases, which is transaction processing, data mining, and backup and restore. So I'm going to pass it on to Dennis now, and he'll talk about what his testing methodology was, how he actually simulated real database workloads using industry standards, and evaluated how customers who run these top 3 workloads with enterprise mission-critical databases can benefit from the power, the latency, and the high-performance characteristics of Gen 6 Fibre Channel. Over to you, Dennis.
Great. Thanks, Nishant. And let me just tell you a little bit more about that. Well, I'll tell you briefly about what we do as an industry analyst, and then I'll get right into the tests and what we specifically ran. First, just briefly about us. We are, as Judy mentioned at the beginning, industry analysts with an ISO 17025 accredited test lab. We've built up our own lab with equipment over the years, and so we run all kinds of storage, DAS, NAS, and SAN. We run every speed of Ethernet, and I've listed them there, 10, 25, 40, 50, and 100. Some of those are the newer ones. And then, of course, we run 16 and 32 gig Fibre Channel. Although we can run synthetic tests, we prefer to run real-world tests where we set up real environments, and we'll talk about one of those today. We also are an EPA-recognized test lab for Energy Star data center storage testing. This is where your storage systems can get Energy Star rated. But let's get into specifically what we were doing. So databases and flash go very well together. Databases often are, of course, running mission-critical applications, and there's not just a single database typically, but there are lots of databases running. So we like to put flash and databases together, and flash is a great way to get the most out of your database performance. So let's get into specifically the tests that we ran. So here you see the setup on this diagram. We ran Microsoft SQL Server, and we decided to compare 16 gig Fibre Channel to the new Gen 6 32 gig Fibre Channel, and we ran 3 different workloads, which we'll describe in a moment. Let me just take a moment to describe the picture here. So you see 2 fast all-flash arrays. We have a Brocade 32 gig or Gen 6 Fibre Channel switch, and then we have a server, a current generation server, and we ran the tests first with the older 16 gig Fibre Channel, and then we from QLogic, and then we just swapped it out and put in the 32 gig card from Fibre Channel or from QLogic as well. So that's what we did. So we repeated the test with 16 gig and then with 32 gig. So first of all, let's talk about the OLTP test. So this is an OLTP workload simulating an online brokerage account set of tests. And so what we've done here is notice the response time. Notice the block sizes are variable. They're typically 8K. SQL Server likes to write 8K, but sometimes it goes a little bigger. And so we show the response time here, the average, and then the read and the write separately. Gen 5 or 16 gig is in red, and the Gen 6 or 32 gig is in blue. And you can see a nice improvement on OLTP latency. Databases are often very sensitive to latency, and this is latency as measured from the host all the way through the stack, all the way through the storage system, and all the way back. So this is a complete end-to-end latency. So you see on average 38% faster, and you can see the differences there between reads and writes. And that's just largely a function of the storage system, but of course the adapter helps there as well. So that was our OLTP test. Let's move on to our data warehousing test. Data warehousing tends to do lots of large block I/O. We see lots of that, so this is a good bandwidth test. So when we ran this particular test, this is a fixed amount of work. So that means that as soon as it's all done, it quits. So you can see the difference here, almost double or twice as long the 16 gig test took than the 32 gig test. The 32 gig test finished, as we show in the chart here, 1.9 times faster. We were running a single port of Fibre Channel in both tests, or in all of these tests actually. And so you can see the workload just about hit line rate of 3,200 megabytes per second on the 32 gig card, and hit just about line rate, about 1,600 megabytes per second on the 16 gig card. So we can fill the pipe reasonably well here with this setup. So in this case, time is important. And if you want to get your work done sooner, of course, you can go to the faster technology. Now, we did one other test. We decided to, in addition to doing transaction processing and data warehousing, which is very large searches and scans and so forth, we decided, well, what about when you replicate your database? Would there be any benefit there? So we did snapshot replication from the server to the storage, and you can see here the higher bandwidth available with the 32 gig card allowed that to complete 32% faster. Sometimes these applications don't write the full bandwidth all the time because they're doing other things, in the background. But you can see the performance there. So very high, nice and high at the beginning and finished sooner, whereas the 16 gig, the red line, took a little bit longer. So let's talk about kind of the summary here. We like to, I'm just going to go right to this one here. So using the QLogic 32 gig cards, we got 38% faster on the response time for the transaction processing, 1.9 times faster on data warehousing queries, and we cut our snapshot replication times by more than 32%. So at this time, Nishant, I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit more besides just the performance things. What other technologies can help us in our data centers as we move forward?
Sure, Dennis. Thank you. I'd just like to quickly reiterate some of the things that Dennis talked about accelerating database performance with Gen 6 Fibre Channel. What do you see brought about here by Dennis's performance team is all the results for weeks and weeks of thorough analysis comparing the previous generation Fibre Channel technology with Gen 6 Fibre Channel technology using Microsoft SQL Server. And if you look at databases, right, just going on a tangent here, if you look at databases from a Gartner Magic Quadrant, there are only two databases that come up in the top right bucket in terms of leaders and market share, and which is one of them is Microsoft SQL Server, and other one is Oracle databases. And in terms of growth, we have seen a significant amount of growth of Microsoft SQL Server, and that's why we asked Demartek and Dennis Martin and his team to go and take a look at how Gen 6 Fibre Channel can accelerate the performance of mission-critical applications that rely on these databases. And weeks of work, performance driven by all-flash arrays, has brought about some of these results that we put out on the screen here. Okay. So like Dennis asked me, right, what are things beyond performance? And we talked about this a little bit earlier with some of the things that QLogic is doing with working with the top switch vendors, including Brocade, to bring about the StorFusion technology. And what StorFusion is, it's an umbrella of multiple different technologies in which, for many of them, the QLogic Gen 6 Fibre Channel adapter works intelligently with the Brocade Fibre Channel Gen 6 or Gen 5 switch to deliver improved total cost of ownership by delivering end-to-end cable and optics diagnostics, things that could not have been done earlier without jumping through multiple different hoops and requiring extraordinary skill set from a SAN administrator and things like that. Technologies within StorFusion also help simplify provisioning of servers. In the past, when servers arrived within a data center at your loading docks, there was a lot of work that needed to happen to get all the worldwide node names of the Fibre Channel ports within the server, configure all the zoning and LUN masking for your Fibre Channel SAN, and only then you could start deploying servers. But now we have allowed the QLogic adapter to work intelligently with the Brocade switch so that the Brocade switch can deliver software-defined worldwide names, identities to the QLogic adapter, and hence simplify provisioning significantly. We are not only not just deploying servers, but even if you are replacing or moving servers within your data center, all these software definitions are thoroughly portable, and wherever the server moves, its identity is once again defined by where it arrives within the data center, and all the accesses that it had in its previous spot and place continue to be maintained. I also want to briefly touch upon how some of the Gen 6 fiber channel technologies are allowing you to enforce your SLAs on a per VM basis or a per tenant basis. Gen 6 fiber channel employs end-to-end quality of service mechanism, which means that every single frame that leaves the QLogic adapter is stamped with a high, medium, low priority. Extremely simple way in which this works, at least from a customer point of view. And every single frame is prioritized based on its priority. And this priority is not just applied on the QLogic adapter, but on every point within the fiber channel fabric. The switch enforces that, the end of the row, the director switch enforces these priorities so that you know that your high priority IO will make it all the way across the wire in time and deliver you the SLAs that you need to run your data center. So that is all the StorFusion technologies we've worked. Our engineering teams have worked hard with our ecosystem vendors to make all of these technologies extremely simple to use, integrated into a single point of management, and allows software-defined identities, faster diagnostics, easy replacement of servers, as well as enforcing SLAs by delivering quality of service to individual virtual machines. Now let's look at some of the key metrics around this. I talked about the integrated management piece, management of the QLogic adapter, several aspects of it, as well as managing the StorFusion features are fully integrated for now into the Brocade's management tools like Brocade Network Advisor or Fabric OS, FOSS-related tools, so that SAN administrators get a single point of management from the Fabric perspective where they can manage multiple servers in a single pane of glass. Excellent and very powerful features. We also, as a technology within the QLogic ASIC, the ASIC that forms the heart of the QLogic Gen 6 fiber channel adapter, and this has been a technology across generations of QLogic fiber channel technology, whether it's 8 gig fiber channel Gen 5 or the most latest Gen 6, in which even if though you have a multi-port adapter from 2 to 4 ports, each of the adapter ports have their own independent resources, their own independent firmware image, their own independent processors and memory running within the confines of the QLogic ASIC or controller that resides on the adapter. And while this is a good thing from a design perspective, it's important to understand that these are some of the few things that make fiber channels so reliable and QLogic fiber channel technology so reliable. In our technology, every single port has independent resources. So if one port goes through a problem, a failure, it does not affect the other port. Once again, small things within design that make sure that the reliability and the resiliency of the QLogic fiber channel Gen 6 adapter remains at a levels where our customers expect it to be. We talked about some software-defined identities that the QLogic fiber channel adapter can get from the Brocade switches, and some of the metrics that we have driven from there is that just by giving the fiber channel adapter its identity from the fiber channel of fabric, it allows our customers to deploy servers with 30% fewer steps, and in many cases in larger environments, deploy servers up to 70% faster, thanks to the StorFusion technology. We also talked about diagnostics. The QLogic Gen 6 fiber channel adapter incorporates what is called a D-port or clear link diagnostics, where end-to-end end-to-end diagnostics can be done on the wire to find out what is the health and if there are any transient errors within the optics and the cablings on both sides of the wire between two nodes connected through fiber channel. Helps customers to make sure that before they take their environment into production, they can run some of these diagnostics tests to make sure that when the production lights will be turned on, this environment is going to function as they expect. Saves a lot of people a lot of time and energy and embarrassment, if I could say. So great technologies, integrated management to make things simple, port isolation to make sure every port is isolated and runs irrespective of what happens on the other port of the fiber channel adapter, lowering operational expenses by fewer ports required fewer steps required in deploying your servers and reducing application outages when things go into production thanks to end-to-end diagnostic features. All of this enabled in Gen 6 Fibre Channel with the StorFusion technology. So if I move ahead and a quick summary before we go on to some other things. Like Dennis talked about, and I gave a little bit more data, Fibre Channel as a technology is deployed in 90% of Fortune 1000 data centers. A huge percentage of banks, airlines, retailers use Fibre Channel as a technology. Billions of transactions go through Fibre Channel behind the scenes when we shop around or buy airline tickets or to go deposit that check. A lot of that stuff is going over Fibre Channel technology. People who rely on where their IT relies is their backbone to make sure that businesses succeed in what they do, rely on Fibre Channel for its availability and reliability. And specifically talking about all the performance evaluation that was done at the Demartek labs, Gen 6 Fibre Channels with Microsoft SQL Server allows you to get higher performance with transactional workloads, with OLTP workloads, mine your data up to 1.9x faster, and cut replication times by 32%. All of this things that Dennis shared with you from his performance evaluation of Gen 6 Fibre Channel adapters. And then I spoke about a little bit how the StorFusion technologies works intelligently with the SAN fabric to deliver you IT, improve productivity, and lower total cost of ownership. All these things that the data centers that you, our customers, run help you do things faster, easier, and give you more time in the day to go innovate. So with that, key takeaways, I would like to thank Dennis Martin and his team behind the scenes who worked hard to make sure that this evaluation succeeded in terms of doing a thorough, broad-based evaluation of Gen 6 Fibre Channel technologies. And Dennis, you really have a great team and very skilled team who was able to deploy these huge workloads, spend weeks and weeks of time and effort to go make this happen and get and help our customers see the value of Gen 6 Fibre Channel for database environments. Thank you, Dennis. So I'd like to, before we take any questions and answers, and I see there are a few questions popping up on the Q&A already, and we'll shortly get there, but I just want to quickly talk to you about some of the other resources around the topics that we have spoken to you about today exist out there. We have a nice little video that once again talks about the Gen 6 evaluation that helps improve database performances. We have the full report. It's a multi-page thorough report with all the details of the tools, the results, and all of that available at the Demartek evaluation report that you see on the screen. And then certainly there's an infographic. And finally, I would like to encourage you to go visit the QLogic Gen 6 technology page that talks about multiple different things within Gen 6 Fibre Channel that we as a company, as QLogic, have introduced, from StorFusion to forward error correction technologies and all the technologies that become part of StorFusion. Having said all of that, I think it's time to get it back to Judy, and she can help orchestrate the Q&A.
Thanks, Nishant. And Dennis, that was fabulous, so informative. This is one of my favorite parts where you guys out there get to participate and ask your questions, and I think we have plenty of time to answer them, so that's fabulous. I want to point you to a couple of the widgets at the bottom of your console. First, there's a Q&A widget where you can click on and type in your questions. And second, there's a resource list widget, and all those resources that Nishant mentioned in the prior slide, in addition to a PDF of this presentation, are there. So while we're answering questions, you can click on that resource list and download anything that you would be interested in having in the future. So with that, Nishant, we have a couple of questions, and please submit your questions right now. The first one is from Eric at Verizon, and he has a couple. I'll read them to you. Will we have to update the OS of our servers if we upgrade to the new Gen 6 Fibre Channel HBAs? And the second is, are there more tools at our disposal with these new Gen 6 HBAs? So Nishant, you want to take that one?
Sure. Hey, thanks, Eric. I think great question, and thank you for attending this session. To answer your question about the operating systems, no, the operating systems that you deploy today, whether it's Windows Server 2012 or any of the previous Linux environments or the VMware, they all support Gen 6 Fibre Channel, and you do not need to update to a newer operating system to support Gen 6 Fibre Channel. In addition, I would also like you to point out that a lot of other QLogic drivers that already exist in some of these operating systems are forward compatible. So the drivers that are perhaps already in box or already existing with your operating system image will likely attach to the Gen 6 Fibre Channel adapters already, and that was part of our strategy that we implemented several years ago. Now to your second question, are there any more tools at your disposal with new Gen 6 HPA? And the answer to that is yes. So let me briefly talk about some of our management tools that exist with the Gen 6 Fibre Channel adapters. We have a web-based distributed tool which we call as QConverge Console or QCC. And this is a QLogic provided free management tool that allows you to manage every single QLogic adapter that has ever been done, which includes all the generations of our Fibre Channel adapters and all other networking adapters that also QLogic delivers. So single pane of glass, and from that you can do literally anything you want to do with the Gen 6 Fibre Channel adapters. Now, if you move on to some other interesting environments, for example, VMware, vSphere or ESX, QLogic has a dedicated a plugin within VMware vCenter, including the new web-based VMware vCenter that allows you to manage the QLogic Gen 6 adapter. But I would like you to point out to you, Eric, that there is a very interesting feature in the vCenter plugin that QLogic delivers for VMware to manage the Fibre Channel adapters. It has detailed topology maps that allow you to connect all the dots within your data center. For example, with using that tool, you can tell exactly what VM is connected to what data store, through what QLogic adapter, through which switch, what is the health of that VM, what is the health of the individual pieces within your virtualized environments and such, and gives you excellent visibility just from a single pane of glass to understand how your components are connected and how they are performing. And finally, I want to briefly talk about some of our integrations. So we talked about the Gen 6 Fibre Channel adapter management can also be done from Brocade Network Advisor or BNA, and also integrated into the CLI, which is a popular tool to manage Brocade switches, the FOSS CLI. So multiple different points of integration depending upon your choice. You want to manage it from the host side or you want to manage it from within the fabric. I hope that answers your question, Eric. Back to you, Judy.
Thanks, Nishant. Yes, thanks. While we're talking about StorFusion, Mikhail from Orange Business Services asked, is StorFusion supported only by Brocade or is there support with Cisco? And I think that's for you.
Thank you, Judy. So, Mikhail, I think a great question, right? And as a company, our strategy has been certainly to cover the bigger blocks first. And the way the market, the SAN switch market, is that Brocade has a significant market share, 70+% in the Fibre Channel market. And so all the StorFusion features that I talked to you about today are today integrated with Brocade's Gen 5 and Gen 6 Fibre Channel switches. And the next step on our roadmap is to get most of these features or many of these features also integrated into Cisco. So short answer to your question is, as of now, the integration is with Brocade, but integration with Cisco is on the roadmap and is coming up as soon as later this year.
Wow, thanks, Nishant, for sharing that with us. The next question is from Peter at Cambridge Health. And he has a question: has the heat signature of the new HBAs increased or decreased over the 5th generation? I think that's another one for you, Nishant.
So let's talk about that from Peter, right? So, Peter, the heat signature between the Gen 5 to Gen 6 adapter surprisingly has decreased. The amount of power that a Gen 6 fiber channel adapter consumes versus a Gen 5 adapter is lower, and while at the same time this adapter delivers twice the performance, Gen 6 adapter delivers twice the performance of the 5th generation adapters. Now, in the spirit of all open disclosure and a technical discussion, we need to understand that a lot of power on the Gen 6 adapters is driven by the optics, which is the 32 gig fiber channel optics, and they drive a few additional watts of up to 1.5 additional watts of power. But my statement of the Gen 6 adapter requiring lower power than the Gen 5 includes the optics power too. So just look at the scale by which the power consumption has been decreased. Even though the Gen 6 optics require more power, overall the power envelope is lower than QLogic's 2670 series of Gen 5 fiber channel adapters.
Thanks, Nishant. I personally am going to ask a question that I hear a lot. No one's entered it yet, so please start entering in your questions. But my question is, typically the target side has been slow in moving to new generations of fiber channel connectivity. Are we seeing a change in that? And how would, if they're at 8 gig or 16 gig on the target side, that impact what we would see from a performance perspective? I think I'd be interested in both Nishant and Dennis's response to that. So whichever one wants to go first. Nishant, I think.
Okay. Thank you, Judy. Let me talk to you about that and give you a few cents of what I think is that my opinion is on this. See, in the industry, in the fiber channel industry, which I've tracked for years and years now, the target side of the equation, which is the target arrays from the big vendors like EMC, Hitachi, HP, and such, typically have one or generation slower fiber channel connectivity. For example, there are a lot of connectivity out there in targets which have 16 gig and some even with 8 gig fiber channel. And but what has happened is that at the same time, the flash portion in all flash arrays, whether you're looking at all flash from EMC or from the new vendors like Pure Storage and things like that, flash has changed the equation significantly, where having flash at the back end has driven the need to have a higher performance interconnect on the server to able to utilize the transaction processing capabilities of the flash. Right. The flash can do multiple different transactions, multiple higher transactions per second than rotating disk, and that can be utilized even with a slower pipe on the target devices. And another point to note in this is that a lot of the target devices have multiple different fiber channel ports, which can then be used in multipathing environments to go drive higher performances. So net, I don't think that for you to utilize the most potential of Gen 6 fiber channel, any customer should be concerned about using a 1 or 2 generation slower speed on the target arrays. If you are investing in flash and you are investing in all flash or hybrid arrays, consider Gen 6 fiber channel. It can significantly help you make the most of your flash investments. You may want to chime in too, Dennis.
Yeah, Dennis, anything to add to that?
Yes, I will. As Nishant said, the target storage systems tend to lag a little bit on the timing of releasing the new, the latest fiber channel things. We have in our lab right now all flash arrays that use 8 gig fiber channel and use 16 gig fiber channel. And so whenever we do these kinds of tests, we just make sure that the host side and the target side are balanced, or maybe we'll put more on the back end just because we want to test if we're testing the server side, for example, or the HBAs. I have heard that some of the storage guys are starting to think about 32 gig, especially with flash. Flash is what really pushes the bandwidth. Some of these arrays have something like 8 fiber channel target ports. Some of them have far more than that, 16, 24, 32. I mean, the number goes up. So even if you're running at 8 gig fiber channel on the target side, as long as you've got multiple ports going on, then you can certainly, as Nishant suggested, use MPIO and get access to that. But the target guys are kind of watching this, and I'm looking forward to seeing some 32 gig targets soon.
Thanks, Dennis. And thanks, Nishant. Nishant and Dennis, sometimes when people are thinking about the next generation, they're thinking, do I have to move my whole data center to Gen 6? When you're consulting with customers, do they need to move their whole data center to Gen 6, or should they be looking at specific servers and specific applications? So Nishant, do you have any comments on that?
Sure, Judy. See, what I recommend to the customers that I talk to is that always take a phased approach to deploying new technologies to help best understand what the technologies can do with you and how you can tune some of the new features in the technologies to solve your current challenges. Now, often I suggest there are two areas where we need to look at Gen 6 Fibre Channel, especially if you're doing a greenfield deployment with a large scale of servers. You would like to think about using the StorFusion technologies that can help you deploy servers within an hour or less, rather than spending significant amount of time jumping between different departments in your data center to get your SAN configured and such. So I ask them to consider some of the accelerated deployment, the faster diagnostics, and such features that are available in the Gen 6 adapters. And then I ask them to look at some specific applications. If you are going to run more than 20 or so VMs on it, those are some of the points where you need to look at Gen 6 Fibre Channel. If your database sizes are growing significantly, and the biggest thing I tell to my customer, if you are investing in flash, consider Gen 6 Fibre Channel. It can change the way your servers access flash significantly. I ask them to evaluate the Gen 6 2.6 million I/O operations per second and see what it can do to your flash array.
Yeah, and This is Dennis. I can comment also. Remember we talked about the fact that Fibre Channel is backward compatible 2 generations, and that's been the standard ever since Fibre Channel, ever since 4 gig anyway. So that means that you can update one piece at a time. So, for example, in the test that we did, we have 8 gig Fibre Channel on the back-end flash array. We have a 32 gig Fibre Channel switch, and then we had the server at 16 gig Fibre Channel. We started out the test, and then we simply swapped the card, and we got the performance benefit we were looking for. So you don't have to do everything all at once. You can do things just in pieces as you need, and everything will work together for those 3 generations. So 8 gig, 16 gig, and 32 gig, they all will function together. So you can upgrade either like when you're upgrading a server, for example, or when you upgrade the switch, automatically then if you've got the faster cards, it'll work. So you can do it piecemeal.
Well, thanks, Nishant and Dennis. This study was on SQL Server and on databases, and I know we haven't yet worked with you on virtualization, but 70% of servers are going out virtualized as the projection for next year. And I'm wondering what you think the benefit of Gen 6 is going to be for virtual servers. So both Nishant and Dennis want to take a whack at that.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Okay. Yes, we do this. Although this test was run in a native, bare metal environment with Windows Server running on the server, and then SQL Server as an app running in it. We also run a lot of virtual machine setups, and as soon as, and like Nishant said, as soon as you start throwing in lots of VMs, Fibre Channel does have the NPIV capability, so that each VM can get what it appears to be its own Fibre Channel adapter. So you do start to use the bandwidth when you start putting more than one VM. Just using this as an example, the test that we did, in fact, I'm just going to go back, if you don't mind, I'm going to go back to the slides here, and I'm going to look at this slide here. So this is the bandwidth test that we were doing, data warehousing. This was one application running, just one instance of SQL Server running. So imagine you have a virtual environment, and let's say you had maybe 5 VMs running like this. Just multiply those numbers by 5. So as soon as you start to get lots of I/O, you definitely can take advantage of it, and Fibre Channel will do that very nicely. Now, there's always a question of how many big, heavy databases do you put in a VM. Obviously not the same as virtual desktops, but whether you're doing virtual desktops or server apps, you can definitely combine them, and Fibre Channel, especially the higher speeds, will give you the bandwidth that you need.
Yep. So, then just a little bit more from my side, right? See, there was a time many years ago when virtualization platforms were not that efficient, right? They were unable to utilize the full potential of a high-speed I/O interconnect like 16 gig or 32 gig fiber channel. There were inherent virtualization-related latencies that inhibited the VMs for utilizing the full potential. But those are all in the past. Today, native performance or performance that can be delivered by a physical server can be achieved from within virtual machines. And to support what Dennis said, all these performance benefits that you see here will get translated when you run a virtualized environment. In addition, remember, virtualized environments has the blender effect where multiple different workloads are blended together and sent on the I/O pipe like a Gen 6 fiber channel adapters. It's important to understand you have some bandwidth-centric workloads and some transaction-specific workloads, and the QLogic Gen 6 fiber channel adapter and the Gen 6 technology overall is fully capable of managing and handling the significant amount of I/O that VMs put out.
Thanks, Nishant and Dennis. I'm going to give our audience a 5-minute warning. So if you do have any questions for these experts, this is a great time to type them into the Q&A widget. While we're waiting for more questions, I do have a couple pretty simple ones. Nishant, have any of the QLogic OEMs started shipping Gen 6 fiber channel HBAs?
So, Judy, certainly I would not want to take the thunder away from the OEM's own respective announcements about Gen 6 fiber channel, but I can safely say that we have multiple different top tier 1 OEMs very, very close to announcing Gen 6 fiber channel from QLogic. So the demand has been excellent in terms of asking us to provide them with the Gen 6 fiber channel technology, qualifying them on the OEM's servers and such.
Well, just because I know that Dell is announcing this week, so they're the first system manufacturer to be shipping a Gen 6 fiber channel with their servers. So.
Absolutely, Judy.
Interesting fact. Another question is, if you could take a minute and talk a little bit about forward error correction. Is that a new feature, or what's different in Gen 6?
So forward error correction as a technology has been around in the electronics and signaling industry for a while, and it is primarily applicable for high-speed interconnects. For example, if you are talking about Ethernet, 25 gigabit Ethernet or 100 gigabit Ethernet requires forward error correction technology, just because at that high rate there could be possible bit errors within the frame. At the same time, for fiber channel, 32 gig fiber channel technology as a standard requires forward error correction. But what QLogic has also done is that we've gone back and enabled forward error correction technology on 16 gig fiber channel too. And while the algorithms, and I won't go into too much details on the algorithms themselves, the algorithm that we use or that is available to use on the 16 gig adapter is not as efficient as Gen 6 fiber channel, but the forward error correction as a technology is available at a much fine-grained and much more resilient level with Gen 6, but it's also available with Gen 5. And if you want to read a little bit more about forward error correction, I'll leave you with some terms. The two top FEC or forward error correction technologies are the Reed-Solomon forward error correction, which is available on Gen 6 fiber channel, and then there is the FireCode algorithm for forward error correction that's available on Gen 5 fiber channel.
Thanks, Nishant. I think we have time for one more question. This comes from Harry from TMNW. He asks, is backward compatible for 2 generations of fiber channel? How are the different speeds handled by the optics?
So, Harry, the optics on the 32 gig or Gen 6 fiber channel adapter are capable of doing both 8 gig as well as 16 gig. The optics themselves, as well as the QLogic controller in it, has the technology to automatically negotiate down to whatever is the highest speed that the two components that are talking to each other can do. You don't need to change the optics. You don't need to do anything. If you are using a 32 gig fiber channel adapter and connecting it to a 16 gig fiber channel switch, the same adapter, the same optics will automatically negotiate the speed down to 16 gig or 8 gig. So,
thanks, Nishant. I'm afraid we've run out of time for answering questions. Thanks all for asking your questions, and if we haven't answered your questions yet, we'll do it offline. I think that concludes our webcast. I want to thank Nishant and Dennis for a fabulous webcast. I want to thank all of you for attending. As you exit this webcast, you're going to be presented with a survey. Please take a few minutes and give us some feedback. We think this is an important way to communicate with you, and so we want to know how we can make it better. I want to remind you that online versions of today's webcast are going to be available within the next day or so. You should get an email from us with information on that, as well as an email related to your Amazon card. Again, thank you, everybody, and have a fabulous day.
Thanks a lot, Judy and Dennis.
Yes, thanks, Nishant and Judy. Thanks, everybody.